Hi, I'm Yvonne from Pre-Designs. Thanks for stopping by my new YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you my homemade alcohol ink technique. While we were in lockdown last year, I really wanted to play with alcohol inks and learn how to play with them and make some different creations. I wanted to use all Stampin' Up product because I love the coordination of Stampin' Up products, which means I don't have to go hunting for colours to match whatever I make. So I set myself a task to make my own alcohol inks. Now at the time, I really wanted 100% alcohol, but I couldn't purchase it because alcohol was being used for hand sanitizer, far more important than playing and making cards. So I used isocol, which you get from the local supermarket, and that's about a 65 or 70% alcohol. But I've since found, which was now available, 100% alcohol from a local store, which you can purchase online, called Aussie Candle Supplies. So I used last year the isocol to create this particular card while we were in lockdown. And then out of lockdown, I did a class with it. I also have used a retired Stampin' Up paper, which is a glossy cardstock. At the same time, I also wanted to make my own blending solution because blending solution helps the spread of the alcohol ink, but I needed glycerin, vegetable glycerin, which also was in very short supply. So I came up with a recipe of 30 ml of the alcohol and 1 drop of Versamark ink refill, because Versamark ink refill is actually very much like glycerin. I'm not sure exactly what's in it, but it's very, very much like glycerin. However, now I could also purchase glycerin from Aussie Candle Supplies. So then I've set myself a task of making some cards using the new range of alcohol inks that I've created. And you do need to use a non-porous paper. So I've used vellum. This one here, I've used a stamp set in the new catalogue. It's just on hold at the moment because there was an issue with it. But then this one I've created using Bamboo Beauty. The soft, pretty colours are Polished Pink, Coastal Cabana and Pool Party. And then bring those ones back so you can see them. And then this is the one that I'm going to demo today and show you how to create this one today. And here I've used a Quiet Meadow stamp set and the die from the Quiet Meadow. Now you can also use your blends to create an alcohol finish or a technique. So with your blends, you get quite a different look. You simply put down some colour using your blends all over your vellum and then drop pure alcohol onto the vellum, and then you will get this spotty type effect. If you want it to be more muted or run into each other, then you simply pick up your vellum and move it so that the colours run into each other. But you don't want too much cross-contamination with your colours or it become quite muddy. So that's another option if you don't want to make up your own alcohol inks. Using a blending solution actually gives you this soft muted look, and now we'll get started. So I've got a piece of vellum on here. I've actually taped it down. It's a little bit bigger than a card front. This is your average card front so that I can trim the edges down after. I want to put down some blending solution, and with the 100% ice and 100% alcohol and just 1 drop of the vegetable glycerin, I've used 30 ml of the alcohol. So I'm just putting a wash of the alcohol on. I don't want to put too much on, and I've also got my heat tool ready. And then I'm going to put a couple of drops of the Misty Moonlight alcohol ink. Ooh, that looks an interesting colour. It's been sitting in there and that's better. That's what it should look like. So I've got some trusty paper towel on the side there. Let's just get rid of that pinky colour because I hadn't mixed it. Give it a little shake and I should get my right colour. Come on. So then I'm going to move that around with my heat tool. And having that blending solution, you can see where the solution stops there, so the alcohol ink stops moving. Heat tool is helping to dry out the ink. I'm going to turn that off and get my next colour ready. Put a couple more drops. And I'm actually putting drops now where I don't have the alcohol so that I can show you that effect as well. And this is my Coastal Cabana. The second colour was Pool Party. And then set it with a heat tool. So I'm using the heat tool to actually move the colours. I don't want them to mix in too much, but I do want them to mix in a little bit. And I'm also drying out the alcohol onto the vellum. A little bit more Coastal Cabana down this, down this end. That got blown by the heat tool. And you can see where the colours have gone over the top of each other. That's going to create a nice, interesting look now. A little bit more Pool Party in the middle. And then I'll bring in some more blending solution. So now I've got my blending solution, and I'm going to put, if I can get the lid off while I hold. I'm just going to put some drops down, and you'll see what happens with that. It actually moves the ink around a bit and creates a slightly different colour. If you want to make your work lighter, then you can use the blending solution to make it lighter. Every time you do this, it will be a totally different effect. So you won't get two pieces of artwork exactly the same. A bit more of the lighter blue, which is the Coastal Cabana. Probably a little bit too much, but whatever. A little bit more Pool Party down this end. And also a little bit more Misty Moonlight down here. And I'm just moving, as I said, the ink and the blending solution around with the heat tool. I've got the heat tool setting on setting 1. I'm going to make that a little bit lighter with a bit of blending solution. Make that move with a bit of blending solution. Now you can keep going with this for ages and ages and ages until you get the effect that you want. And I'm quite happy with that. I'm just going to turn the heat tool up, so I'll turn the sound off in a moment. Okay, so then I'd leave that to dry, but it's got a little bit of excess on it, so I'm picking up a piece of paper towel, and I just want to pick up that excess. I don't want to push the paper towel down too hard onto the work because I don't want the impressions from the paper towel to finish up on my work. Okay, so that is my alcohol ink. I'll take it off there. I could reuse this washi tape if I want. Oops. If I could get the washi tape off. And that's my finished work. So now what I'd want to do is actually adhere it onto a piece of white cardstock, because that will really make the alcohol finish pop. So the easiest way to put this onto your white, use it with vellum, is to use your silicone mat, our Tombow glue, and a little bit of old sponge. So I'm just going to pick up a bit of glue, and I'm simply going to put tiny little dots all over the vellum. Takes a few minutes, but I literally want it all over. So I don't want globs of glue, so to speak. Globs is probably not a real word, but it sounds good. I just want tiny little dots of glue. My fingers are now sticking to the card, and putting it all over means that when I trim this down to the size I want for my card, it should be all adhered really, really well. You can see that my sponge is now sticking, which means it's now ready for my cardstock. So this is just our basic Whisper White cardstock over the top. Push it down, and then that will give you, whoops, I've got a little bit of a, oh, it wasn't quite dry. I had a little bit of an air bubble there, but that gives you the non-porous paper using Stampin' Up products, which is your vellum. You can buy a product called Yupo paper, but I, as I said, want to stick with everything Stampin' Up. So that's your alcohol ink technique. Then what I've done, I'll bring in one I've prepared earlier. So for this one, I did the alcohol ink. I left it to dry completely overnight, because if you don't leave it to dry, you will get more gilding than your actual spots from your stamping. I stamped the spots using this stamp here in the Quiet Meadow, and this is your gilded leafing. It's beautiful to work with. I'll do another video on how to use that. But it's lovely to work with, nice and easy. You do need a heat and stick powder to make it stick, or you can use tear and tape. There's a few different ways of using it, but great product. And that's how I've created the little spots, because I want a little bit of metallic in the card. So just to show you the original card, this is the finished product. This is what it will look like. The card base is Coastal Cabana. I've used the Thinking of You from the Quiet Meadow stamp set, and then the die from the coordinating die set, which is called Meadow Dies. And then inside I've just put a little insert with a stamp, and there'll be a matching envelope as well. So you can see that every time you do this little technique, even with the same products, it'll work out slightly differently, which to me, that's the beauty of it, because they are truly one-of cards. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thanks very much. Happy alcohol ink creating. Thank you.